guys, welcome back to my channel. Simone here. So today, on the day I'm filming this, it's actually my 1 year Booktube anniversary. It's the 5th of March and I've had an amazing time this year. I started my channel, I've mentioned before, I started it before a year ago, but it's been exclusively a Booktube channel for the last year and I've loved every single moment of it. So for my Booktube anniversary, I allowed myself to buy some books and I think I've got about 15 books here. I didn't buy these all at the same time, but a good chunk of them I bought for my Booktube anniversary. So let's get into it and I'll talk about the books that I got because I've got some really great ones and I'm very excited. So the first one I got is Hidden Figures by Margot Lee Shetterly, and this is a book, this is actually the movie cover of the book. It says the untold story of the African American women who helped win the space race, and this is a quite unknown story at the time when this book came out. A lot more people know about it now, but it actually follows the 3 African American women who were a massive part of getting a rocket into space basically, and they are super intelligent, and it's about how they had to deal with their race and the people around them and how they were treated, and not only their race but also the fact that they were women, and obviously the majority of the people around them were white males, and so they had a lot of problems and difficulties that they had to get through, but essentially they were partially responsible for the space race, as it says, and I think they are wonderful women. I don't know much about this story, but I cannot wait to read it. Margot Lee Shetterly is actually the daughter of a NASA research scientist, and so she knows a lot of the people that are in this story, so she knows a lot I don't know if she knows the women specifically, but I know that it says she knew many of the women featured in Hidden Figures. So this is a non-fiction book, as far as I know, and I have not read much non-fiction, and I cannot wait to do so. I really am excited to read this book, and yeah, I think it's going to be amazing. The next book I have is actually a book that my mum bought me. She saw it in a charity shop and picked it up. Now, unfortunately, what I didn't even realise was that I already owned this, so she took the original copy I had because it was paperback and gave me the hardback that she bought for me from the charity shop, and I'm very excited. This is Lacey, oh I don't know how to pronounce her first name. I know it tells you like right at the start of the book. Here we go, rhymes with Cece. Lacey? This is Lacey's story by Stephen King, and as many of you will know, I have made it a bit of a mission to read through Stephen King's books. I mean, I don't think I'm going to get them done like within a year or anything, but I am slowly getting through some more of his books, and this one, I don't really know too much about it. I'll read it to you. The inside says, "To the public eye, the spouses of well-known writers are all but invisible, and no one knew it better than Lacey Landon. That is, until the maddeningly humid, maddeningly muggy day her husband Scott, a celebrated, award-winning novelist, inaugurated the site of a new library in Nashville. The day that started with a broken tooth glass. Years later, Lacey is ruminating on their marriage of 25 years, a marriage of profound, sometimes frightening intimacy. Lacey has always known there was a dark place where her husband ventured to face his demons. Booyah Moon is what Scott called it, a realm that both terrified and healed him, that could eat him alive or give him the ideas he needed to write and live. Now it's Lacey's turn to face her husband's demons, and what begins as a widow's effort to sort through her husband's effects becomes a perilous journey into the heart of darkness." And I mean, this is a massive hardback book, and Mum got it for £1.50, which I think is amazing. That's why I love charity shops so much, and I love Stephen King, so very excited to read this, and I'm really happy I've got the hardback edition. The next one I don't know very much about, but it's an author I love, and so I had to pick it up. This was My Not So Perfect Life by Sophie Kinsella. As far as I know, it's about a woman with a perfect life, or so it seems. She's kind of like got this perfect life on Instagram, and actually she has kind of a not so perfect life in real life. Like she's got this tiny little flat, but she's kind of made it out like it's this amazing flat in London, and all the things in her life are not quite adding up the way that she's portraying herself online. So I don't know too much else about this, but I'm really enjoying the idea. I think it's really interesting, like what we put online and compared to what it's really like in real life. So yeah, I can't wait to read this one. I love Sophie Kinsella, she's amazing, so I can't wait to find out what I think of her newest book. Up next is another one that I've heard a lot about on Booktube, and that is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I mean, I haven't seen this cover, I don't think, on Booktube. A lot of people have the kind of bright red cover. I think that's the hardback, possibly. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it is red on the inside and that. As far as I know, this is about a man who wakes up one day and his life is not as he remembers it. His child is no longer in existence. I don't think he's married to the person he was. He's surrounded by like strangers and stuff, and it's about how he kind of works out what's going on. This sounds really trippy and kind of like amazing thriller, and I do love a thriller, so I'm very interested. I've also heard like very mixed reviews. I think some people love this and some people hate it, so I'm very interested to find out which side I fall on. Then another brilliantly read book, and another one I've heard lots of people talk about, and that is The Power by Naomi Alderman. This was the Bailey's Women's Prize for Fiction 2017 winner, and as far as I know, this is about all the women on the planet finding out they have some kind of power and the men suddenly lose control, basically. And it's about like women being in charge, and this has been like Blood by Margaret Atwood, who wrote The Handmaid's Tale, and I've not read that yet, but I'm interested. And I feel like this is quite topical for like this sort of time. I think a lot of people now are kind of talking about feminism and women and like women empowerment and things like that, so I'm quite interested to find out how this is. This is also a thriller, so again, I love a thriller, so I'm very much looking forward to this, and also love this cover. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Next up, strangely, is another thriller. I think we might be sensing a theme. This is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough, and this is about a woman who's a single mother since her husband walked out. She meets a guy, then she meets the guy's wife, and it says she becomes obsessed by this flawless couple. She can't help but wonder, are they really this perfect? But only when Louise gets to know them both does she begin to see the cracks. And I feel like this is quite like a family thriller, you know, like a kind of like character-based one. I don't know, again, this could be completely different, but... And oh, it says on the front, the most shocking ending you'll read all year. I do love a thriller that shocks me. I've only ever had one moment in my life where I've like audibly gasped at a book, and that was Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. So I would love if this does the same, because that was one of the most amazing feelings in the world when I was like reading a book and I was just like, like I couldn't believe it. So I would love this to do the same thing, so fingers crossed. Then I have a book that's not really something I would generally pick up. I'm quite intimidated by it because it's not something I would normally read, but this is Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo. Now I've loved, I read Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and it was my favourite book of last year, and I think her writing is amazing. I don't really ever read superhero books, so I'm quite interested to read this. I know there's like a series, I think there's 4 books, is there? Yeah. So it's the DC Icon series, and it says superhero icons meet megastar authors. So Leigh Bardugo wrote Wonder Woman, obviously. I believe Mary Lou has written the Batman one, and that's out already. And then Sarah J Maas is also writing Catwoman, which I'm quite excited about because I do like Sarah J Maas's writing. And then Matt de la Pena is writing Superman. So I think out of those 4, Wonder Woman is most interesting to me because, to be honest with you, I don't know a lot about Wonder Woman. The others I've kind of seen a few bits, but I haven't ever really watched anything to do with Wonder Woman, so that should be interesting. Again, it's not something I normally read, so this is kind of out of my comfort zone, but I'm quite excited to give it a go anyway. Next up is a book I bought myself in the charity shop, and this is probably where my mum got inspiration from, but I bought Black House by Stephen King and Peter Straub. I don't think I've read a book that Stephen King has written, like co-authored, so this sounds really interesting to me. I don't know anything about it. What does it say? It's about a serial killer, I believe. And again, this was £1.50, and it's like a huge book. I don't know how many pages in this book. It's like 800 pages long. So, I mean, again, I'm reading Stephen King's books. I'm kind of collecting them now, so I'm very excited to read this one. We then have a book where I've seen the cover of this book a few times, but not this cover, and I actually really like the cover that I've managed to get. I ordered this on Amazon, so I think it must be the UK cover or something, and I've seen a lot of the American cover. I'm not entirely sure. I know I'm excited about it. This is Final Girls by Riley Sager, and it's another thriller again. I believe this follows 3 girls who are what they call the final girls. So basically they've all been involved in a mass murder, like they were the one that was left behind by the killer, I think, as far as I know. Yeah, the survivors, and one of them is killed in this book, and then the other 2 are kind of trying to stay away, like they think that they're next. So I think it's how like sort it out and figure out what's going on. It also, Stephen King has said if you like Gone Girl, you'll like this, and I did like Gone Girl, and I do like Stephen King, so hopefully this is also one that I'll really enjoy. And again, I love this cover. I think it's gorgeous, and I love the bright pink on it, so I'm very excited. I then have another book that has been turned into a movie recently, and that is Wonder by R.J. Palacio, and this is about a little boy who has some form of facial disfigurement, and it's about how he kind of goes through. It literally says on the back, "My name is August. I won't describe what I look like. Whatever you're thinking, it's probably worse." So I think it's about him going through school and kind of how he deals with the things that he has to do. I love the idea of this book. I've seen the trailer of the movie and it really, really made me cry, like, already, and I'd only just seen the trailer, so I feel like the film will definitely make me cry, but I really want to read the book before I watch the film. So yeah, I can't wait to read this. Next up is a book that I think I might have seen on Simon from Savage Reads channel, and I'm pretty sure it must have been because it was the Costa Book Awards winner of last year, and he was one of the judges, so I'm pretty sure that's where I saw it. And I know he was really, really, like, had high praise for this book, and so I saw this on the 3 for £10 paperbacks deal, as a lot of these books that you've seen today have been part of, and that was on Amazon. And I decided to pick it up. I didn't know very much about it, but from what he said, it sounded fantastic. And this is Eleanor Elephant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. And as far as I know, this is about a woman who, I don't know if she has any form of, like, I feel like someone said that she had some form of autism. I'm not entirely sure, I could be completely making that up. But it just says, Eleanor Elephant leads a simple life. She wears the same clothes to work every day, eats the same meal deal for lunch every day, and buys the same 2 bottles of vodka to drink every weekend. Eleanor Elephant is happy. Nothing is missing from her carefully timetabled existence, except sometimes everything. And as far as I know, it's about, like, loneliness, and it's supposed to be quite touching, and I feel like I'd have to be in the mood to read this, but I also feel like it is something I would be in the mood to read at some point, so I am really excited to read this. It is something I probably wouldn't have picked up by myself, but yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to reading this when I do eventually get to it, so definitely one that I think you should check out too, if it sounds interesting. So the next one I have, I'm actually really unsure about. I bought this before I watched the review from, I think it was Kate from Girl Reading. I could be wrong, but if I can find it, I will link the wrap-up where she talked about this. But I hadn't watched it before I bought this book, and then I watched it, and now I'm not sure how I feel about it. This is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. Now, this just says, a geek, a jock, a criminal, a princess, a murder. Who would you believe? And as far as I know, this follows a detention of these 5 school students. Oh, by the way, the pages are red, which I love. I've never actually read a book with red pages before. I'm very excited about that. Anyway, the cover is also amazing, but that's not the point. It follows these 5 school kids who are all in detention, and they all go into detention, and then one of them dies before they come out. And the one that dies is a school reporter, and he was about to post, is it like an online blog? Oh, he has the Gossip app, and he was about to post all of their secrets on this app, so they're all kind of suspects because they all have a motive for killing him. However, what I have heard about this book is that it is very bad mental health representation. I think from what Kate said on Girl Reading, she was saying that, and this isn't the only place I've heard this, she was saying that they've used mental health as a kind of plot twist, and not a plot twist, more like a ploy, like justification for someone doing bad things, and I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know, you might know, I did post a video quite a while back, like before I started my Booktube channel, about my journey with mental health, and I have a lot of specific problems with mental health for certain things. My mental health is not great sometimes, and so I don't know how I feel about this. I'm gonna read it, but I will be reserving judgment until I have finished it. But I will tell you when I've read it how I feel about the representation in this. So yeah, I'm going to go into this quite warily, I think. Next up is a book that I'm very excited about, and I've only heard great things about it. And this is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Now, when I saw this, I did think it was a bit like, looked a bit like The Night Circus, or like had some reminders of that. And if you remember last year, I gave The Night Circus a 1 star and I really did not like it. So I'm hoping this is not a similar book in any way. This follows this game called Caraval, where people join in and basically it becomes their life, and they have to kind of become part of the show, and if they win they get a single wish. But something happens in this where the main character's sister goes missing and she's trying to find her. The problem is, if you stay in the game for too long, that you might start to forget that it's just a game and then you get stuck in it. So again, this sounds really interesting. I've never read Stephanie Garber's writing before. Oh, that'll be because it's a debut novel, didn't realise that. Very excited about this. Hope it's not like The Night Circus though, because I did not like that book. And then the last 2 books I'm not going to go into very much because, spoiler alert, I talked about them in my Stand Up to the TBR Part 2 video, which I will link below. But in that video there were 2 books which I had to buy because my library does not do them, and they were on my list to read very soon. So the first one is The Book of Speculation by Erica Swyler, which is about a woman whose parents die, and she gets sent a book that was like had her grandmother, like something to do with her grandmother in it, and so she's trying to find out how this kind of like is part of her family history and kind of what's going on, why the book is relevant. So it sounds really interesting, looking forward to this. Then the other one was one I wasn't really sure about, I still am not completely sure about, but I'm going to give it a go and read it, and that is First and Then by Emma Mills, which I will just quickly read the back because I don't really know too much about it. It just says, Devon Tennyson wouldn't change a thing. She's happy silently crushing on best friend Kaz and blissfully ignoring the future after high school. But the universe has other plans. It delivers Devon's cousin Foster, an unrepentant social outlier with a surprising talent, and the obnoxiously superior and maddeningly attractive jock, Ezra, right where she doesn't want them. First into her gym class and then into every other aspect of her life. So this is quite cheesy as far as I know. I will say I love that it's like a floppy paperback. I do love that. And I love the cover, so I will be reading this quite soon and I will let you know what I think, but I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this book yet, so we will see. So that is the books that I bought for my Booktube anniversary, and I let myself have a little present. Thank you guys for watching my videos, it really does mean a lot to me, and let me know in the comments below if you have any videos you want me to film or anything you want me to talk about, because I absolutely would love to. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments below if you think I should read any of these books particularly first, if you think any of these I will really enjoy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!